Hello and welcome to the virtual edition of our year-round screening series, Film Independent Presents, and to this Q&A for the film My ZOE by Julie Delphy. I'm Jen Wilson, Senior Programmer at Film Independent. Before we get started, I'd like to give some praise to a few of our supporters. Thank you to our incredible lead sponsor, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, and our screening partner, Vision Media. And now please welcome today's moderator, Deputy Awards and Features Editor at Variety, Jenelle Riley. Welcome, Jenelle.
Thank you so much for having me. And I am so pleased to introduce today's guest. She is the writer, the director, and the star of My ZOE. Please welcome Julie Delphy. Thank you for being here.
Hi, good to see you.
You too, and you have the best background. It looks like storyboards.
Yeah, no, it is actually.
It is.
It's not to show off. I'm in the middle of like restructuring my show. It's a big mess.
It's the Film Independent members. This is a perfect background for them. Before we get into the movie, I actually like to go back to the beginning and start with, what was your first job in this business? The first time you felt you could call yourself an actor, or maybe you started as a writer and a filmmaker.
You know, I started as an actress, even though I was really interested in filmmaking from the start, because when I met Godard when I was 14 years old to play a part in his film called Detective, you know, I told him right away, I was like, you know, if you don't cast me, it's fine, you know, just at least can I come to the set and see, you know? And he's like, well, I'm gonna cast you then, because you can come to the set and get paid. So it'll be even a double. So, you know, he cast me knowing that I was going to come to the set more often and kind of observe his way of working and stuff, you know, and it was kind of a great experience. I mean, Godard is kind of this mad genius, and, you know, it's hard to sometimes connect to his world, but he's also, you know, he created jump cuts and, you know, all that stuff. I mean, he's the true brilliant filmmaker. So it was a blessing to start with him, you know. That was my first paid job as an actress at 14, was with Jean-Luc Godard.
Wait, you started with Godard. It's like,
yes.
Where did you go from there?
Yes, when I was a young little girl in the 80s, you know.
I mean, most people talk about like they start in a commercial or in local theater, but you jumped right into it.
Yeah, I mean, no, you know, the truth is I was playing tiny parts in little films and stuff when I was a kid, because my parents were both actors, but mostly theater actors. So I was on stage for a few plays. I didn't love being on stage, and actually I've never done stage work afterwards because I always have so much anxiety. I mean, even as an actress, I have anxiety on a movie set, you know, but I'm always scared of messing up, you know, so stage was not for me. I'm too anxious, and I have too much anxiety for stage, so I stick to films.
Do you have anxiety behind the camera when you're directing, or is that?
No, not at all. It's when I'm in front of the camera or on stage. Yeah, I'm terrified. If I told you what I'm terrified of on stage, you'd be, I can't say it. I'm terrified of, you know, I'm terrified of everything. I have so much anxiety. I'm terrified of things falling on me. I'm a very anxious person, so.
I never would have guessed.
Really?
The performances are so assured. I know, I had no idea.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage, because I'm terrified to be on camera and stuff. So.
Well, I want to start at the beginning with My ZOE, because I believe this is your 7th feature film as a director.
Is it? Okay.
I think so. Yeah, you correct me if I'm wrong.
I think it is. You're right.
Can you sort of talk about where the idea for the story began and how it developed into the script?
Yeah, I mean, it began a long time ago, because I remember talking about the concept of it with Kieslowski in like 91, 92 or something like that. Because Kieslowski was very supportive of me becoming a director, because I wanted to be, you know, go to NYU Film School and stuff. So extremely supportive, a friend of Agnieszka Holland, a big fan of women director to start with, you know. So, and then so the concept of refusing to accept loss and to accept the condition of what mother and women should be, you know, kind of like going against the grain of what is expected, was kind of the first concept that came to my mind. The film took years to, you know, sometimes it's a tiny little idea that I have, and it takes me 20 years. I mean, I have a screenplay that I've been writing since I'm 30 about Hollywood, you know. I still haven't finished it. So just to say, you know, but this one became clearer when I had a child. because suddenly this anxiety about being a mother and, the fear that comes with being a parent, became so clear to me at the time that I became a parent. And that's when the real starting point of writing it became clear for me. And then the separation from the father of my son made it even clearer, because the madness of, tearing apart a child to make it into two entities, basically, became this very, obvious direction to go to with the screenplay.
Did you always know it would have a science fiction element? Or actually, I should ask you, do you consider it science fiction? Because it seems like logical science. So the idea of cloning maybe isn't science fiction.
I mean, the idea of cloning isn't science fiction. Cloning isn't science fiction. I mean, that's a fact. We have laws that protects us from doing the unthinkable, but it is we're so close to it. I'm not saying it's easy to do, but I'm saying it's not an impossible idea. So I wouldn't say it's science fiction, even though I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, and actually my computer is sitting on Isaac Asimov complete stories. So it's at level.
How different we are. Mine is sitting on DVDs of The Simpsons.
Okay. Okay, I can tell you it's sitting. Yeah, that's sitting on. But anyway, so I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, but this one I think is more. It's kind of a more personal journey of transformation and breaking the mold of what is expected of a woman and a mother. Like not going that way. And it's almost, some people I'm sure will have a visceral reaction to this this woman's journey and this woman period, or even me, creating this character, but it was interesting for me to explore something so radical in a way.
And when you write, do you just write as a screenwriter, or do you have the director and the actor's eye? Because I know some people who know they're going to direct, it affects their writing. They're like, well, I probably can't portray that, so let me think of a cheaper way. Or do you just write and then worry about how to shoot it later?
The first draft, I would say I write kind of free of fears of not being able to do this and that. And then I start thinking of production very quickly, because I know the limitation of the kind of films that I'm making. With a subject matter like this, I know I'm not going to have people throw money at me left and right. So I think of it as contained with a few character, a few location, and not much visual effects, or like we are in the future. There's little signs of maybe we're 10 years from now. We have phones that we can slap on our wrist, because I love that concept, by the way. And I was in China, right before I started working on the show, and I was like, this guy who's inventing this thing basically was showing me what the future of phones would be, so it was very interesting. But it was like, a few years ago. So I'm sure it will evolve into something similar, to that, like something very confusing. I mean, now they have the watch, so we're not far from we're very
Not at all.
but that was kind of sort of before all that, so that I wrote it. But it's just, to me, I forgot the question. I got lost.
If you write, just as a writer, or if you think.
No, I think also of production and direction and everything. I do think of all those things while I'm writing. Maybe not the first draft, as I say, but pretty quickly I start thinking about the limitation that I will have and try to contain it,
I want to talk about the amazing cast in this movie, because in addition to you, you have Richard Armitage playing Isabel's ex, James, who is like, he's just so good at making you hate him. And Daniel Bruhl is so wonderful as Dr. Fisher, and Gemma Arterton actually has some lovely scenes with him. How did you go about filling out this ensemble? Was it people you knew, or you just, called them up and
Rich was attached. I mean, actually when Richard read the script, he read it and he called me. I had a conversation with him, and I had other actors read the script before him, and everyone was like, how can I make him more likable? Like, can you write him a bit more likable? And I was like, wow. It's funny, because even people that have played serial killers were asking me to make him more likable. which made me realize that some men are more ready to play a serial killer than an abusive man, right? And abusive men are so common. I mean, if you think that 3 to 4 women per week are dying from the hands of their boyfriend or husband, and here I'm not even talking about physical abuse, I'm just talking about psychological abuse. You know, it's amazing that it's like, it's one of the biggest taboo in the world is the amount of abuse there is towards women by their, you know, loved one, by their man or husband or boyfriend, you know. It's a taboo. It's a taboo. I mean, people don't want to portray those men that are so common in this world. And I even saying it, I know there's going to be a backlash saying, you know, the truth is I'm married to a wonderful man. My kid is a wonderful guy. My dad, you know, was the greatest feminist in the world. But, you know, not there are men out there that are abusive, you know, and the women that die are just the tip of the iceberg. So it was very, 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 very difficult to cast this part.
Something that's so fascinating to me about the character of James is he actually thinks he's the victim, which is, you know,
yeah, and often, you know, there is this side of turning it around, which is very strange. You know, I've seen that happen not just in my personal life, but also with other people. You know, it's like she seems to be the bad guy to him, you know, because she left and everything, but she left for the right reason, you know, and he's constantly accusing her of destroying this child's life, but really she's just trying to keep her child safe, you know, in a way from and he might be a great father when he's not with her. You know, a great father doesn't mean a great husband.
Yeah.
You know, so it was an interesting thing to explore and very complex, because sometimes I've seen separations on film which are kind of cute and funny and stuff, but to me, child custody battle was closer to talking about death, was really the feeling of losing a child and having to recreate that child in some way. You know, it was more than just a custody battle and an ego thing. It was literally the most painful experience, one of the most painful experience I've been through.
Their scenes together are just brutal. But on the flip side, you have Daniel Bruhl, who is so wonderful and compassionate as Dr. Fisher. And I love
he also has a wonderful relationship with his wife. You know, I wanted to do another couple where the wife is, you know, she has a voice, she has a say, she's not you know, she's not crushed at all. She's lively, and she actually is the one that makes the decision probably to help this other woman, you know.
Yeah. That's something that I really liked too, was her relationship with Isabel, which I didn't see coming. I like that they kind of formed this tentative friendship.
Yeah, because in the end, she has this, you know, I think the approach of Dr. Fisher is a bit scientific and a bit like daring, right? It's not just for the good cause, like the wife says to him. It's not just to help someone else.
Yeah.
It's also your own like little Frankenstein side, you know? But for her, it's true compassion towards this woman, you know. And I'm not saying men are not compassionate. I think Dr. Fisher is compassionate as well, but he has a little sprinkle of extra thing too, you know what I mean? And it's clear in the film, you know.
It's like she says, you have to be first. Yeah.
First in everything. Yeah. Not just helping out this woman. It's something else. Yeah.
What about finding Sophia, the young actor who plays Zoe? She's so good, and yet really just seems like, you know, a normal kid, which is sometimes hard to find on screen. Where did you even find her?
She's absolutely wonderful. She's a little jewel of energy, intelligence, beauty. You know, she's a girl, but she's not girly. She's intelligent. I mean, she's raised with a bunch of parents. She has like, I don't know, 5 siblings or something like that. So she had to grow up beyond her years quickly. And, you know, and her parents are very sweet and smart, and they expose her to the right amount of what should know, but not too much either. I mean, it's like really, really smart way of raising a kid. The parents are doing an amazing job. And she's this beautiful, intelligent little girl who's going to become this beautiful, intelligent woman, you know? And it was great to work with her, because it was never, there was no weirdness. It was difficult for her, I know it was difficult, but I mean, I was very kind to her and very loving, and her parents were around and stuff. So we were making sure that she wasn't, emotionally hurt by the story, but we were making it fun also. I was making jokes a lot, and even when she was in bed and standing there, I wasn't like I was making jokes that were kind of making the whole situation not so horrible to go through.
Well, someone who started acting at a young age, you probably had a lot of, empathy for her, and really probably helped the directing.
I've always had empathy for actors in general because I was raised by two actors, and I see the ups and downs actors go through. And I know all artists go through that, but actors, you have to be wanted by someone else to actually do your job. You can't just go in your room and write. Yes, of course, writers want to be published and stuff, but you can still do your craft by yourself alone. As an actor, it's a little weird if you start acting on your own at home. You know what I mean? You can do it, you can train, but eventually you need someone to give you a part to become something, right? So you're always in this state of instability. You need the love of someone, or someone wanting you to become something, and it's painful. And being raised by two actors, I saw the suffering, especially of my dad, weirdly enough, more than my mom.
Really?
He was struggling a great deal with not working, and also that made me start writing very early and promise myself I would not be an actress, because the vulnerability that comes with being an actress is tremendous, and I didn't want to be just that. Then I realized you're also vulnerable as a writer, but that's another story. And a director, and a producer.
So you did all these jobs on this film. You probably also did craft services, for as far as I know.
Sometimes.
What did end up being the most challenging part of it? Was it the directing, the acting? It could probably change from day to day.
All of it was challenging. The producing was challenging, the directing, the acting, the writing, directing other actors, directing yourself. Everything was challenging on this film. It was wonderful to have Daniel kind of step in and become a producer on the film, and Gabi Tana and Malte Grunert and stuff. But, it was really hard because we didn't have enough money. We didn't have enough time. So kind of everything was on me to kind of save the situation sometimes, a day at a time. And it was hard. Mm-hmm. It was hard and physically exhausting. I mean, I'm still feeling it like 2 years after shooting it. Yeah.
Can I ask what your shooting schedule was?
Well, we were shooting, the problem is we shoot 5 weeks, 6 weeks. So that was okay, but we didn't have enough prep. So for me, prep is everything when I'm acting and directing, because I need to be completely prepared to jump in and be doing my job as an actress as well. So it was a little short prep, which made it very difficult.
I'm curious, when you're I shouldn't say just an actor, but when you're an actor for hire, when you haven't written or directed something, is it almost like a vacation for you that you just get to concentrate on acting?
Acting is always hard. It's always emotionally hard because you expose yourself, right? But, it's much easier to just act. Or the easiest part, I would say, is to just direct. Because for example, when I'm in scenes that I'm not in, which I do sometimes often in other films and stuff, like, for example, when I direct the scenes between Gemma and Daniel, it makes it all more easy, because I'm in charge. I'm looking also at what they're doing. I don't need to go see the playback. It's a much easier process. Mm-hmm. I would say.
You're so immersed in every aspect of this story, as the actor, writer, director. Was it ever challenging, mentally? Did you take your work home with you at the end of the day, especially when she's in these horrible stages of grief? I think it would be hard not to sort of carry that with you.
It was hard. It was very hard to go home and feel. I was also alone, away from my son during shooting, because I was he came for a short period, but I was in Berlin, and the feeling of loneliness, and at the same time working so hard, and having to explore those emotions was very, you know, what's crazy is that I'm still paying the price of it today. It's crazy to say that it stayed with me, because I thought it would exercise certain fears, but it actually made them worse in some ways, you
Really?
know. Yeah. No, it kind of destroyed a part of me, this film. It's interesting that I never thought a film could actually affect me so deeply, but it did kind of like ate me from inside, and I don't know, I can't explain it. It went too almost too far for my
Mhm.
little self, you know.
Well, these scenes of grief are so wrenching. And like I said, the relationship between Isabel and James, I mean, it's hard to watch. Was it hard to shoot some of those scenes?
You know, the truth is I wanted to go there because each time I have seen movies about separation, apart from a few exceptions, like maybe Ingmar Bergman, you know, um, I always feel it doesn't go far enough to what it really feels like in life.
Yeah.
Like it's always cute to make it more, okay, I can digest it and cry a little bit and feel better afterwards. Like it always feels that way in a lot of separation film that I've seen, outside of maybe the Nordic kind of filmmaking that they go all the way with it, you know?
Yeah.
But outside of that, you know, I always felt a little like, oh, cute, you know, oh, that's their separation. I'm like, okay, big deal. You know, it didn't feel very strong to me. And only even, you know, the chair custody, only the death of a child could actually represent the pain that it can be.
Hmm.
And it's, the film could be an allegory on child custody battle in a way, you know. So it is that painful, you know. I mean, maybe not for everyone, but at least for what my sense of it is,
Yeah.
it is that painful. I mean, it's not that painful, obviously, because I've never been through it and I don't know how painful it would be. I probably wouldn't even survive it, I think, you know, but it felt like inside of my heart, that's how it felt.
Hmm. And finally, just because we do have so many filmmakers watching and you've worked in all aspects of production, and you've had like such a varied and strong and lengthy career, I'm sort of curious because it's not an easy business. I think we all know that. Have there been times you thought about leaving and doing something else, and what kind of got you through those times?
Yes, I have thought of doing other things and kind of leaving the business, but the creative side of the business, you know, is really always pulled me in. It's never the business side of it. It's never money. It's never fame. It's never any of that that's kept me in the business. You know, people always think, oh, people want to be famous. I'm sure some people want to be famous, but it's really, I would be more famous if I wanted to, if that's what I wanted, because I would have choose other route. You know, I wouldn't have choose to do Before Sunrise. I would have choose to do a more, you know, a bigger movie. But I think what keeps me in the business is my true love of storytelling and films. You know, I love films. I think films educate people. Good films are incredibly educating and mind opening. Uh, yes, you can watch pure entertainment, and that's great too, because that needs to be as well. But I think films are part of our culture. It's deep. It's not shit. You know, it's important. Films are important. I was raised with movies that really opened my mind. You know, from, you know, it went from Spielberg to you know, Tarkovsky. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think films is such a great variety of things. You know, I think it's fantastic. So that's why I haven't left the business. Really, it's the only reason.
The only reason. Well, I'm so glad you haven't. Again, I want to congratulate you on a beautiful movie. I want to thank you
Thank
so,
you.
so much for being here today. And thank you everyone for watching at home and watching the movie.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy the film. I don't know if the word is right, but at least you're taken by the film.